Before Alexander conquered the world with his sword, he was first conquered by the mind of a teacher, Aristotle. In the marble halls of Macedonia, among the scent of olive oil and cold stone, a young boy sat cross-legged before an old man in a white robe. It was not a warrior who taught him to fight, but a philosopher who taught him to think. Aristotle did not speak of victory, but of cause and effect, of how every human action carries a logic behind it. Alexander listened, and in his eyes burned a fire. Not the fire of war, but the fire of understanding. Each day they discussed the earth, the stars, law, and justice. Aristotle planted the seeds of knowledge in Alexander's mind, and without realizing it, also planted the ambition to understand the world by conquering it. When the lesson ended, Alexander gazed westward. He did not know it yet, but that thought would one day lead him to Persia, Egypt, India, and to the edge of history itself. Alexander may have been Aristotle's greatest student, but at some point, the student would become his teacher's greatest test. Every human action has a purpose, said Aristotle. But Alexander interpreted it differently. Then the highest purpose of man is to conquer the world. The logic Aristotle taught of cause, purpose, and perfection became the fuel for Alexander's ambition. Every moral concept his teacher instilled transformed into a strategy of war inside the pupil's mind. While soldiers spoke with swords, Alexander spoke with ideas. He did not just conquer cities, he conquered systems. He understood his enemies before facing them, because Aristotle had taught him to understand mankind. Yet in Athens, the teacher grew uneasy. He realized the knowledge he had given was losing its morality. Aristotle had built logic to understand the world, but Alexander used it to dominate it. Alexander did not merely lead armies. He led with ideas. Before attacking a city, he studied the morals of its people. Before negotiating, he dissected his enemy's reasoning. All of it, Aristotle's lessons turned into weapons. When his teacher said, "Every form has its substance," Alexander translated it as, "Every kingdom has a heart that can be conquered." Tension rose when he began to treat war as a science. And for Aristotle, that was not a triumph of thought, but a distortion. In the young king's hands, philosophy became strategy. Logic, meant to lead to virtue, now served as a map to domination. Alexander stood before his soldiers and declared, "We do not conquer nations, we conquer ignorance." The troops roared, but in Athens, Aristotle closed his eyes. His students' words were now a warped reflection of his own teachings. The world called Alexander the Conqueror, but Aristotle knew it was his own logic speaking through a twisted mirror. Alexander believed he was fulfilling his teacher's philosophy, but in truth, he was destroying its meaning. As the world burned under Alexander's ambition, Aristotle wrote a letter. "My son, do not let the world change your purpose. You conquer the world only when you conquer yourself." The letter arrived too late. Alexander was already at the borders of India, and the blood on his hands could no longer be counted. Yet on a quiet night beneath a sky full of stars, he read the letter again and again, and for the first time he felt defeated. Alexander's sword could conquer the earth, but Aristotle's words pierced his heart. Aristotle always said, "The highest goal of man is virtue." But Alexander replied, "The highest goal of man is immortality." Between them, an eternal difference was born. The teacher sought truth. The student sought greatness. Philosophy creates knowledge. Ambition creates history. Alexander lived between the two. One day, as Aristotle walked through the gardens of the Lyceum, a student asked, "Master, is it true Alexander now calls himself a god?" He smiled bitterly. "The child who understood the logic of the world," he said, "now wishes to become that logic itself." A heavy silence fell over Athens. The philosopher who once shaped a leader now watched his creation reject wisdom. Aristotle had lost his student, not to war, but to a mind too free to be restrained. Alexander stood at the edge of the Indus River. He gazed at the sky and said, "If the world has an end, then I will find it." He wanted to cross the very limits of logic that even his teacher could not explain. At that same moment in Athens, Aristotle wrote, "The man who rejects limits rejects his own humanity." Alexander longed to be a legend, but every legend comes with a price: the loss of humanity. News of Alexander's death shook the world. At the Lyceum, Aristotle only said, "Even the sharpest mind can be pierced by its own ambition." He looked upon his manuscripts, the same teachings that once shaped a king. Now they echoed only silence. The student conquered the world. The teacher conquered time. Ages passed, but their names still echo. Alexander left his mark on the land and stone. Aristotle left his mark on the human mind. Two paths diverged, yet met in a single destiny. That thought can be stronger than the sword. Alexander conquered the outer world. Aristotle conquered the inner one, and the world still lives within them both.